What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 9 of the Cinematic Boys Reviews. Today we got Sammy back in the building. How you doing, my guy?
Great to see everyone again. I can't complain. It's been a good week. I've been watching some good movies and excited to talk about Kong, man. I loved it a lot.
How's school been going for you?
It's been all right. I've just been busy, honestly. I got some more projects coming up in the works that I'm helping out with, and it's just been a lot of juggling that and just working on editing right now and different things in the works. Nothing insane, but just busy.
I seen you finally released a little short film on your Instagram.
I did, yeah. It's called Angel. Please check it out. Here, I finally started adding my social media tag. But yeah, if you like it, come check it out. It's an experimental narrative short. It's a personal film I made about battling your angel on your shoulder, dealing with innocence, and I'm really proud of it. And I think everyone involved had a really good time with it and really brought a lot to the table.
That sounds good. It was actually good, pretty good, not gonna lie.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So, guys, go check out his short film. It's on his Instagram. So, the handle right down here is his
I'm gonna
or his
circle it
Instagram
again.
right here.
Can they see the mouse or no?
No, they don't see the mouse. It's
Oh, I
only
thought they
you.
could see the mouse. I
No.
apologize. I have a mouse
So,
on
of
my
course,
end, everyone.
his handle is Sammy.wbt on
WBT.
Instagram, which means white boy trash. It's his rapper name back then.
That was an error, and that's for a separate video.
That is for a separate video. So, of course, like Sam said, today's review is Kong Skull Island, which is the second film in the monster universe. So, I got the stuff pulled up on Letterboxd right now. For a little background, I think I did. Never mind. I took it away. Sorry, bad podcasting, people.
Hey, there's no such thing as bad podcasting. It's called progressive podcasting.
So, Kong Skull Island came out in 2007. It's directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, I think. So, this movie.
2007?
Did I say 2007?
You did say 2000.
2017.
Sorry, no, I
Sorry,
just
guys.
wanted to make sure so you had record. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, 2017. And this movie stars Tom Hiddleston, Loki himself, Samuel Jackson, Brie Larson, which I was in there in this movie. I'm like, it would be great to see Brie Larson and Samuel Jackson in the movie together. I'm like, oh yeah, you dumbass, they're in Captain Marvel together.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that they were a duo that's been around together for a while, at least in the last decade or so.
And especially, I think after this film in 21 Jump Street, that really got Brie Larson on the map, and probably The Room also to get her
Yeah, I was
into
gonna
the
say
Marvel.
Room was a big one because she won an Academy for that. So once she did that, she pretty much had free game to do whatever.
This also stars John Goodman, Toby Kebbell, which is Doctor Doom from that bad Fantastic Four movie.
God rest his soul.
Corey Hawkins and Jason Mitchell, which he plays Easy in not 21 Jump Street, Stray Out Compton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's.
I didn't know that. Wait, I haven't seen that movie, but I didn't know that he plays Easy.
Yeah. And some. And of course, John C. Reilly.
Yeah, John C. I gotta say, John C. Reilly's the one of the best takeaways of this whole movie.
So, guys, let's just get right into it. This is, of course, like I said, this is the second movie in the monster universe out of the 5 movies that we got so far, including the upcoming Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, which comes out 10 days from right now, where we're recording this. Really
That's
excited
actually
for that movie.
whack. I did
Yeah.
not know that's in 10 days.
So let's get right into it. Sammy, what are your thoughts about this movie? Oh wait, first before we go into our thoughts, is this a rewatch for you? And if it is, what was the first time of you watching it?
Sorry, my bad for over talking.
You good?
I have seen it before. This is my first time rewatching it. I remember seeing it in theaters back in middle school, high school, and wait, yeah, 2017, yeah, high school, and it was good. I remember enjoying it.
Middle school.
Yeah, 2017.
No. Did it come out? When did it come out? I need to know because remember I graduated in 2017. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm that old. So because I know I
Also, I
think
think we need to start naming segments and like designing stuff for them. Like,
oh
what if
no,
what we're talking about right now is called the deep dive, and then we
no,
just have a guy like jump into water, and that's
no, that's too much. I do all
what
that.
do you mean
That's
that's too
too
much?
much for
You just
us.
you make like a 10-second snip, and then whenever you edit it, you just have it in there and you throw it in before we talk.
That's too much. I can picture it
I'll
in my
make
head
it
though.
for you. I'll make it for you. I'll just shoot somebody jumping in the pool and then put font over it, and then I'll send it to you, the MP4.
So this actually came out when you were in eighth grade. It was the right
Oh.
at the tail end of your eighth grade year. It was March
Oh,
of
yeah, 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 when
2017.
like Logan came out around then too, right?
Yeah, because it was the right. It was like 3 months right before I graduated high school.
So yeah,
Like I
that was
said
like
before.
tail end middle school, but
Yeah,
either way, it was a great time when I watched it.
ladies and gentlemen, I do not want to hear or see the comments of Dakota's old. Okay, I know I'm old.
Hashtag Dakota is old. Smash that like button and subscribe and leave the hashtag down in the comment chain. Let's get them, chat.
So, man, you lost my train of thought there. But okay, um, so sorry, this is your
You're
first
fine.
rewatch.
Yeah,
You
it's my
said
first rewatch.
so. I have seen this before. My first time watching was I think 2017. I went to Walmart on Black Friday. Of course, before the pandemic, they had the long lines for like Black Friday. You had to wait
Yeah.
in line forever for movies. So there was one year, I think it's because after I graduated, what you get, like everyone gives you money. I had a whole bunch of money, so I'm like, I grabbed every movie as possible as I can because I'm like, oh, I just see movies.
No, and
So
if it's on sale for Black Friday, then like yeah. I mean, I remember going to Best Buy for Black Friday and having like 4 or 5 movies in mind to like pick up and grab that were like $10 Blu-rays or less, and they were usually like 25, or they were movies that came out like earlier in the year I wanted to buy and I didn't have $30, you know.
because I didn't know this was technically universe when I bought this. All I thought was Kong because of King Kong that came out from Peter Jackson.
No, yeah, which I personally like that remake.
Technically, I was thinking, is this a sequel or is this like a reboot? Then I found out later on it was like a reboot. When I got home and I'm like, okay, this seems cool. So I watched it like I think a couple weeks after I bought it during that Christmas season. I rewatched it once before when Godzilla versus Kong came out back in 2021. So this is my second time rewatching it.
Okay.
So with that being said, tell me, what are your thoughts about Kong Skull Island?
Personally, I love Kong Skull Island. At least compared to Godzilla, um, I feel like it had a lot of its own style and personality. It was very creative on like every front, whether it was CGI, whether it was production design, like color correcting, like a lot of the editing in the film, at least not necessarily cut wise, but I would say like color wise is phenomenal. Um, the film establishes like a really solid like outline for what they're going for, and I feel like they capture like their Vietnam 70s like era very well. Um, I like I like how the cast is very like, even though it's obviously like super marvelly, which I only say that because literally almost every single person in the cast has been, or by the time of recording this, will be in the MCU.
Yeah, because we got Tommy Hiddleston as Loki, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, Nick Fury's Nick Fury, Samuel
So
Jackson's
Jackson,
Nick
there you go.
Fury.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, like I said, Toby Kimball was the Doctor Doom in Van Forstick.
And then the scientist who gets, I forgot his name. He's a short haired dude who gets stomped on way later in the movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers. He's in Agent Carter.
Oh, I never seen Agent Carter.
Oh yeah, I didn't like finish it, but like I remember him being in it.
Okay.
And then there was someone else, I forgot what he was in. either way, the cast is all over the place, but like for what it is, it's pretty solid. And there's a lot of people that do. John Goodman. John Goodman is really good in this movie for the small time that he is in it. And I just really like the Jurassic Park feel that they go for with this movie. I feel like it works. I feel like they spend a lot more time developing the world of Skull Island, which I'd rather see, to be honest with you, than an insane plot. And I just feel like it's a lot more grounded in its approach to introducing these new characters in this new environment versus like how Godzilla did. But also, like, even outside of the terms of Godzilla, it just does a really good job with establishing Kong. And I think they picked a really fun way to do it. What do you think, Dakota?
So I actually like this movie. I liked it the first time I'm watching it. Rewatched I like it, and I even like this even more. It's creative. It's Kong. Like once you see, technically, it was like big monkey, and that's what you see, and that's what you get. Like literally, I think like 20 minutes into this, 10 minutes into this, you see Kong. It's not like Godzilla where you like wait a half a like an hour into the movie, then you finally get to see Godzilla. You get Kong as they as soon as you get on Skull Island.
Yeah, the screenwriters paid attention to the mistakes of the last movie.
And I'm kind of glad that they went back to the 70s because like versus now the movies is like real time. We see a young Kong. We don't see the Kong that has experience, that has grown up when he goes against Godzilla, and especially in the newer movie that comes out. And like you said, I like the cast. It's all well known faces, like Tom Hiddleston. Like he was and still is one of the biggest actors right now. Samuel L. Jackson. Everyone knows who Samuel L. Jackson mostly is.
And
Brie Larson.
he's crazy in the movie, in my opinion. Like,
Yes,
I love him in this movie. He really gives it his all with what he's given.
because everyone thinks that Kong is the villain in this. No, Samuel L. Jackson is like the real villain in this movie.
Eh, that's something I do want to talk about because I feel like the whole antagonist arc of this movie is very like unique, and I kind of like how it's not super like in your face one way.
Yeah,
But anyway, what were you saying? I didn't want to. Don't want to interrupt.
the cinematography in this, some of the shots are great, especially like Kong with the sun, or just a spoiler alert, like at the end when they're setting all the traps up for Kong, and it explodes, and you see Kong, but like in front of the flames.
And Samuel L. Jackson standing there like paralleled.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
if there's any shot, I think with orange color and Kong's in it, it looks good, especially like the shadow, like when they're coming towards Skull Island, like when Kong is attacking them, you see him stand up, and all of a sudden, from like the sun horizon, you just see this black mass that is Kong, and
And I
it's
just think
timid. It's intimidating. It's kind of like, I think that's the good thing they have done is like, you know how Godzilla, we when we first see Godzilla, it's amazing. He's a menace, and it's a good like way we see him. It's the same
it's a
way for Kong.
spectacle.
It's
Yeah.
the same way for Kong. Like seeing it at home is not bad, but I bet you seeing this on the big screen like you did was cool. Seeing Kong on that, being the first time you see him on that big screen.
Yeah, and I remember it was a packed theater when I saw it and everyone was very into the movie. I think the movie does a good job, like you said, with having the younger Kong. It still feels like it's an intimidating Kong. It's still a spectacle. It's still this this massive figure that you watch from the beginning of his intro um show his power. And just the way he fights is very brutal. And I think that's something else I really like about this movie is even when it is very CGI heavy, it doesn't feel like a whack VFX fest. It's very much like choreographed action, and the action that is happening there is very intense and interesting. Like I would say it honestly outdoes Godzilla. And I think Godzilla does a really good job with what it does. I mean, there were scenes here where Godzilla would like rip animal's tongue out completely, or like the way he's introed whenever they enter Skull Island and he throws the palm tree through the helicopter and kills them all. Like it's very they show you the full potential of Kong. And to me that was something that I really enjoyed and like was excited to see and like want to see more of.
So there's two other things for my thoughts right here. First of all, the music in this, the 70s music, we get a lot of CCR in this, and I love CCR. But all the 70s music in this, like it's like the rock and roll type of in the 70s. And it runs like perfect because most likely this is what they listened to back during the war times in the 70s when they hang off
I
to
was just
like
waiting for
Vietnam and
them to
stuff.
play Fortunate Son.
Do they do that?
No, they didn't. I was waiting
Oh,
for it and they didn't. And I was like, okay, that's kind of, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
but they played Bad Moon Rising, which I was happy with.
Yeah, that's, see, we gotta like have new Vietnam songs.
So also, this movie is brutal, a lot brutal than you think. This is not technically Godzilla. You can take your kids to go see Godzilla. This movie right here, it's a little scary for some kids. Another
And it,
spoiler warning, especially like when the guy, one of the doctors, when he gets taken off by those pterodactyls, and you see his arm just get ripped off.
yeah, and I feel like they really pushed the PG-13 with this movie, which was not what I was expecting, considering that like I liked Godzilla, but it was very much made for multiple audiences to enjoy. It wasn't super graphic. Like this movie's not afraid to show blood. It's not afraid to have horrific ways that the humans died to show how like how much control they don't have in this new surrounding and in nature. Like the one of the biggest things that come to mind is the scene when they're walking in the forest and there's the spider
Oh
that's
yes,
disguised, and like you turn around and the guy's got to stick through his whole mouth, like he's literally speared through. Like it brought me back to like almost predator level intense gore and like, oh my god, like I don't know what I'm fighting. You know what I mean? And it feels very like the movie does a really good job of establishing multiple conflicts both with the characters and with their environment to a degree where it's always interesting. You never feel like it's getting boring, and the pacing because of that like benefits from it.
yeah. Because like when I first watched this, I was not like into like the horror. I was not into horror, so technically the gore, the brutalness, I was not into. So this movie was like a not a tough watch, but it was like some of the scenes were a little hard to watch, like that scene. Um, the when the guy gets ripped apart by the pterodactyls, even the guy when the soldier gets attacked by the creature and you see his blood go everywhere.
Yeah, you mean when Jack gets clipped?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Like and that was to me like a very big ode to Jurassic Park and like the Velociraptors. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, okay, the off-camera kill, but it's still gruesome, and we know it's gruesome. But then sometimes they'll show everything, and they want you to see everything. And I think it's cool that it's a very unpredictable in what it wants to show you, so you always get a sense that you don't know what you're gonna see.
like especially like another scene is like when they're in the like the when they're going trying to find him because they don't know he's dead yet, and they're in that like that gas area, and the
Yeah.
creature just spits up his skull and still has like meat and flesh all over it. It's still
Like production design went crazy, dude. Like and then I don't know, there's just a lot of really cool memorable scenes where you feel what they're going through and you get the sense of like intensity and the sense of like they're not going to make it. And still to counter that, it's very evident when there's plot armor in this movie, and I will say that's something that kind of starts to show a little bit halfway through the movie. But at the same time, I would argue there's still a lot of scenes where things happen to characters that are very well established in the film and you don't expect to happen. You never know who's going to make it or who's going to be the next one. and I kind of like that. It gave me that Game of Thrones Walking Dead vibe where like you really stick with someone and then 1 week, oh shit, he got ate. I guess it's over. Or like Game of Thrones, oh, they beheaded that guy. He's done. Like, and you followed him for like 5 episodes. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just kind of really like that the movie like pushes on that and it really establishes that as a pattern because it keeps it interesting too. Because you're like, oh shit, sweet. Like the guy, like we said with the guy with the limbs. It's supposed to be a heartfelt moment because it's like, oh, we finally found Samuel L. Jackson and the other team. And then the guy gets fucking slaughtered.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, whoa, whoa. Like the moment's over. Like, we remember we're in the jungle. Like, we're still not winning.
So, with that being said, for our thoughts, what's your pros for this movie?
Like I said, I think a massive pro for this movie for me is regardless of how you feel about having the massive Hollywood aesthetic that the film has, at least it has a style and it chooses one and it goes with it and it really pushes to fit that demographic. Because for that was one of my major things I didn't like, at least with Godzilla, and I think with having that time gap, they realized that even from the start, like the way the colors are interacting with the environment and with the visuals, the way that it's just framed, the way that they take time to like put extra detail into everything. It's just really noticeable. I like how they do certain segments very old school. Specifically massive not I don't want to say massive spoiler, but it's a pretty big the end credit scene with John
Yeah.
C. Riley and shooting that and like I want to say it's Super 8 or 16 millimeter. It's one of the two. Um but like shot with what a 70s camera like an average person in the 70s would have in their home. And it feels very authentic to that moment.
Is that mostly for your positives, or you got any more?
um I'd say the performances are really good. I don't think everybody brings their all here, but I definitely think, for example, like John Goodman's really solid. With what she's given, Brie Larson does a really great job with it. Samuel L. Jackson's a massive takeaway for me in this movie. Um, I feel like he brings a familiar character that we all love out of Samuel L. Jackson, but it's also very you understand his conflicts, and I think it's another thing is like the story does a really good job of showing you can't really trust who the good guys are. You kind of just got to formulate it with everyone else because they do a lot of twists and turns and they have a lot of characters where like with Samuel L. Jackson, it's understandable why he's reacting the way he is. You get a sense of why he is the way he is and why he sees the world the way it is. And I think that pushes the film and asks a lot of questions because like you said he's somewhat of an antagonist figure, but at the same time he's got good reasons. And John Goodman was not a good guy.
Because
So it's kind
I
of
want you to explain that out real quick. With your antagonists, like what you were talking about earlier. Because I said Samuel L. Jackson's mostly the only one. Who also do you think could be the other antagonist in this movie?
I guess John Goodman because it's like he knows that these soldiers are trying to go home from Vietnam and he doesn't see them as people. He sees them as assets to advance what he knows about Kong and
Kind of like
Kong's existence.
it's like that scene where Packer goes over to him and he asks him like, "You knew the whole entire time that there was something here, and you just
Yeah.
brought us here."
And to me, that's like Packard has a reason to be upset and to want to do what he's doing. He's doing what any colonel would do in his position, especially post Vietnam. I think it's interesting how they explore that more with his character and his belief that, like, regardless of the outcome and how many people have he's lost, he's numb to it now. And he wants to feel like it's worth something. So winning by killing Kong is making up for all the soldiers he lost. And to me, that makes him somebody that like you're not necessarily like rooting for him, but you don't see him as a negative person. You start to understand why he's doing the things he's doing. And I really love, especially nowadays, that like a lot of Hollywood movies aren't about, is like really thought out, very developed characters that are bad to a degree, but you understand why they're bad, and you empathize with them to a certain level. And so, and I think creating, and like I said, it creates a weird conflict where like the other one side of the party figures out they need to save Kong, and that Kong is a massive part of the ecosystem, and the other half saw all their friends get slaughtered by Kong, so Kong has to die, which makes sense. And it's just a clash of two different worlds, and they're not at the same place at the same times.
So I agree with you. The acting was good. The most underrated, I think, acting performance in this is Corey Hawkins as John
Yeah, Corey
Goodman's
Hawkins
assistant.
does a good job.
It doesn't matter if he has a big role, kind of like he does. I need to still watch it, but like I heard he's good in the last voyage of the Demeter. But
I
he's
haven't
also
seen
in
it.
a. I think he's also in Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was
He
I.
he was he was good in that too.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't the best
So,
movie, but he was good in it.
so
Yeah.
I think he's mostly like a very underrated actor. But like Samuel L. Jackson, he even though it's not a top tier movie, he still gives his all in this. Like you said, Brie Larson, I think, and John Goodman gives their best of what they get. But I think it doesn't matter. Like with Tom Hiddleston, I think he just like for me, he's just like Tom Hiddleston when he acts. It's like it's kind of it just like seeps out of him. It's like he don't need to put a lot of effort into it. He's just good at his acting.
I agree, but this is a weird movie for me with him because there's times I'm really into his character and I understand why he's there. And then there's times where I feel like he's really like sticks out like a sore thumb for some weird reason. I don't know if it's just me, if it's something about like it. I don't know if it's about like his posture and his attitude in the movie, but there's just some scenes for me where I feel like everyone blends in with their environment and there, and then I just see Tom Hiddleston. I don't know what it is, but then at the same time, there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, and I might just be bugging right now because there are a lot of scenes where he's really good. Like he isn't bad in the movie by any means. I just think that there's some scenes where I'm very much like I'm invested in seeing everyone do things, and then I see him, and I'm like, oh, that's Tom Hiddleston. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking at like his character as much.
True.
But that's just my personal. I mean, like I said, if I'm sure if I rewatched it, my opinion might change, or I'm just might be bugging. Like, it was just something that like I randomly like kept thinking about.
Another good thing for me in here, besides Godzilla, there's a lot of comedic moments in this. Especially,
That
I love
yeah,
it. The first comedic moment you get. He's like, I think my mom hates me. He's like, I guess she does. I felt like, or the Dear Billy before, of course, when Chapman dies,
yeah.
they're like, Dear Billy, I am scared to go into the storm. Love, Dad. I start cracking up. But of course, like, there's some really emotional moments, like after he dies, and they realize and they find the little notebook with all his notes that he wrote to his son in it. Because of course, the guy who plays Easy is like one of his like best friends, and he has been ringing him. He has been like looking at him write these notes to all his son. So he definitely knows that he has to get those back to his son because, of course, in the beginning of the movie, they're all going to go home at first before they call them in because they're thinking all going home. But Samuel Jackson's character of Colonel Packer, he like lives and breathes and dies by the army, no matter what. Like if he's going to get, like he didn't know what he's going to do after coming home. Like when on the call, he's like, "Oh, got nothing to do," so he just takes the job because he's like, "I do whatever I somebody tells me to do for my country."
Yeah, he's a soldier.
Yeah,
He's not even though he's a colonel, he's built like a soldier and he's not that's his world. That's
Be-
everything he does.
because unlike the other like his people underneath him, they got families, they got everything they need to come home to, while he's single and like you said, he's a soldier all the way through. But I think that's mostly it for the pros for me. Um,
There's
do you got
one
any?
thing we're missing.
Oh, what is that?
And I just realized this when we talked about earlier, we never talked about John C. Riley in this movie.
Oh, I was going. That was going to be a little segment. I was
That's a
going to.
segment. I'll save it for the
Yeah,
segment.
I
I'll
was
save
going
it.
to talk about
I'm
that
good on
later.
pros. I'm good on pros outside of John C. Riley.
Do you
So,
have any negatives on this movie?
um, I think sometimes the dialogue is a little MCU-y. Like it's very much from that era of like Hollywood that we've seen at least in the last like 10 years where like you'll see some really fuck shit happen and then somebody will have a quick quip and it's just kind of like that dude just got fucking like slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like what? Like you know what I mean? But
Oh,
like
make it a
there are
perfect
times where like
example.
it's funny. There is times where like it's actually funny, good in the good comedy, like you were saying earlier with like the soldier banter. Um, it's just kind of off and on for me. But what were you saying? What was your example?
Like the example is when the guy gets ripped apart by the Velociraptors,
Yeah,
and it's like real quick. Oh, don't do that. They're like, oh yeah, let's go find Colonel Packer. And it's
yeah,
like
and it's like all right,
you
let's
just
move
watch the
on.
dude die. I
Or
love
like
John C. Riley though. He's like, I told you guys that this is the comedian moment. I told you guys, do not go outside.
or like everything happens with Kong and they ignore the guy. And he's like, "Are we gonna talk about this? This doesn't happen in real life." And they're like, "Let's go." I'm like, "Are
Yeah,
you not gonna listen to me?" It's like, yeah, dude, you just watched like 30 people get slaughtered. Like he has the right reaction right now for this moment. Or like the one of the biggest scenes that stick with me, and it's such a small like you don't expect the moment to stick with you is the scene with the guy with the grenades. Because no, it's so ruthless. It's so it's crazy to me that the movie goes to the extent that it does to show that you just can't win sometimes. And I think that's interesting that they go with that approach because even when they escape, it doesn't feel like much of a win. They lost everything. They literally about lost everything except for like a couple of the main characters. Um and the movie's constantly telling you that. Like he like for context, the what is it, the skull crushers? Is that what the crawlers? Skull crawlers.
yeah,
Um you think he's gonna get eaten and like blow him up like every movie ever. And then the tail whip happens and he died for no reason. And he blew up on the side. And like to me, that was a moment where I was like, holy shit, like that they had whoa. That's a big deal. Like they didn't have to do all that, but like it weirdly made that moment really special in a like a this is fucked up, but this is what happens kind of way. You know what I mean? Obviously this doesn't happen in real life, but like in real life there's situations where it's like, all right, this is how it's gonna go, and then it just happens, and it's just, you know, I don't know. It's weird how it grounds itself in reality, and then the next scene it's like MCU fighting.
yeah.
And you're like, okay. But nah, outside of that, not really many negatives at all.
Oh, one more pro is there's a lot more monster action in this, and I enjoy it.
And it's good. It's
Yes,
good. They take everything that was hardcore about Godzilla and just amp it to like 11. And it's very creative in how they go about it. Like I said, like it feels choreographed. I feel like we're in this we're doing a lot of things right now with CGI where it's so much just clutter and it just becomes brain rot when people watch it. And when you watch this movie, you see the action. You see the intentional movements and decisions that each like monster is making. And to me that makes the movie versus like I'm trying to think. Like honestly, I hate to keep saying MCU. I feel like there's other options, but like I feel like it's just a lot of like VFX garbage nowadays. Or like stuff like Aquaman where like Aquaman's cool and it's fun. But like at some point, it's just like a massive just CGI everywhere, and you can't keep track of what's going on, and you know what I mean. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. It just doesn't hit as hard. It just doesn't hit as hard as the action they show here.
So mostly is that mostly it for your positives and negatives?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, before we go to the John C. Riley part, was there any moments in this movie that were supposed to be serious, but they seemed funny to you?
I thought it was really corny, and this is kind of going back to that. I think it was really corny when Tom Hiddleston was talking about his life with Brie Larson, and he just brings up like he was a mystery to me, like John Wayne, and it's like,
I'm like, you're British. I'm like, John Wayne, British. I'm like, John Wayne's like an American legend in film.
and
I'm
it's
like,
just so
British.
funny. It's just funny because like that's supposed to be this big emotional moment about his dad, and it's just like it comes off very screenplay like
I mean,
written corny, like it's just corny dialogue. But that's the other thing about this movie. At some point you realize that you got to turn your brain off a little bit and just have fun with it, and it wants you to have fun. Like when it, even when it's serious, it wants you to be still remind you to be like, hey, this is a lot and this is like ass, but on the other end, here's some fun shit going on that, and here's the reason why we're here.
for me, there was two. One is the John Goodman death. He's just like, the camera's like, like he's like, oh shit.
I like how he senses it. Like I like how he senses it and no one else does, but there's no indication to the audience that he senses it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like he hears a footstep that nobody hears, and then when it happens, you're like, "Oh shit!" Like he's fucking dead.
And the other is the guy with the grenades.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, like
Like he said, I
I
think he's
didn't
scared.
remember that.
He's just like, wee! And he just,
I didn't remember that, dude. Like I forgot about that. Like I genuinely was like, it's a good scene because I feel like it plays off of that assumption that we have for that. Like that's such a cliche. The fucking self-sacrifice grenade gets eaten alive bit with a monster. It's very played. So to see like that situation brought up, and I would have been contempt with them doing that, and they go and do something completely left field that like adds to the movie. I gotta give them their
it's not
props,
like
man. I gotta give them
they
their
can.
fucking props.
It's so funny though because he could just like fly over. No, he just flies into the mountain.
Yeah, it's literally you're just like, and everyone sees it, and they're just like,
They're like, what is that? They're like, you dumb fuck.
no, because it's literally some Rick and Morty shit. Like in another context, in another property, like that would have happened in Rick and Morty, and everybody would have been like, "All right, they were fucking dumb. Let's keep going." Like it's just like, "I well, that guy's dead," and in this movie, you're like, "Oh shit! Like he's gone, bro. Like he just sacrificed himself for nothing. Like he's gone." But it was kind of funny seeing him fly.
True. So let's get into our main topic of this movie. John C. Reilly.
I love John C. Riley. He is a
Sammy, what were
champion,
your
a
thoughts
god
about him in
among
this movie?
men. John C. Riley in this movie is single-handedly the best thing in this movie. And I love how late into the movie he comes in, but he also completes the script. That's something I meant to mention this. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of plot holes in this movie. Like there's times where like I expect plot holes in movies like this and just unanswered questions, and I feel like a lot of the movie covers its tracks. And John C. Riley's like having him be the character that survived in the intro was really cool.
Yeah, the intro. I forgot about the intro so bad. I'm like, what is this intro?
Yeah, and that's another thing. I realized I forgot a lot of the movie, and I don't even think it's because it was just not memorable. I think it's been 7 years. It's been a long time, but I just I love everything about him. It's very much if you love his acting and how he performs, he's very genuine. He's hilarious as always, but he off as like annoying. He's very sweet. His character, I'd say his character and Samuel L. Jackson's are the most fleshed out in the entire movie. There's some very one-dimensional characters, but every time John C. Reilly's on screen and he's emotional, you feel his emotion. It's real. It's sweet. It's sad sometimes, but then there's other times where it's very like you're smiling, you're happy for him, and I just think it's really cool to see him show his versatility in this movie compared to other movies he's been in, where like that wasn't really as much of an option for that style of comedy. And it's really cool to see him like, especially that ending. That ending could just be a short film on its own with John C. Riley, and it would be critically acclaimed. Um, it's just really cool to see him branch out as an actor and show more and still be the same, like still give us the John C. Riley that we love and just expand upon that.
So I really like him in this movie. At first, when you meet him, he's like, when all the tribe is around, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He looks back at the tribe, and they're like, he's like, oh yeah, you can come along with us now. They said you can. I'm like, how did you know that? I'm like, yeah, Roberts said, yeah, we can eat the baby. He like, how do you know? He's like, I learned from a lot of years. I'm like, dude. I'm like, why? Where is this coming from?
See,
Like,
but that's the movie being like, hey, it's corny, we know. Like we're not gonna explain, because like I was thinking that too, and then Tom Hiddleston says the line, and you're like, oh, the movie's self-aware. Like they're not being stupid. Like they know it's fucking corny. Like I respect the fuck out of that when movies do that. And it's fun meta, but it has the audience like asking the same questions as the characters.
the other two moments I really like with him, he's like, these are called skull crawlers. He's like, Thomas is like, who made that? Did they make the name up? He's like, no, I did. I just did now. He's like, damn, it sounds stupid though. You can call him whatever you want. I'm like, I started laughing.
And it's just
They
like it makes but it's real though. It's like, okay, yeah, he's just stranded on an island and doesn't speak the language of these people. So like
or
he's
then
gonna
he
name it whatever the hell he can think of.
or then he goes on the boat and they're like fixing the boat. First of all, he's like, I made this out of the two planes. He talks about the baseball. He's like, has the Cubs won the World Series yet? They're like, and the guy's like, no, the Cubs suck. He's like, who's your team? Detroit Tigers. He's like, have they won the World Series yet? No. He's like, who wins a Tiger or a Cub? He's like, Tiger. He's like, but Cub's very small. He's like, oh. Then he's like, all I remember, he's like, it's been years, but he's like, I don't know if it's real or not. With a hot dog and a beer, he's like, I don't even know if this is real. He's like, are you real?
And then he gets that at the end. But like, see, like it's funny, but it's also like it has some real intention to it. You're like, damn, yeah, he's been on this island for 40 years. Like he misses that shit.
And like you said with the plot holes, like there's none. It's like we get backstory of after like him and the Japanese guy's relationship. Like what happens to the Japanese guy.
Which I kind of get the feeling there was more to that. Like at least like they shot more to show that and they just didn't put it in the movie.
I'm
Like
not
at least
shocked if his death would have probably sent the rating over to the rated R.
but I'm not even talking about his death. I just like I feel like if I had to like just looking back, I wanted to see more montage of them. I would have took a solid little like up style like montage segment where it's like 2 or 3 minutes long and it's a full journey of like a life.
And like him explaining the back his story.
Yeah, and then like it's like bits of dialogue here and there. Could be mainly music, but like I mean, obviously, what they do for the movie, it works. It works for what it is. I just think that would have been like really cool to flush that out a little bit more, considering how important the moment becomes. Because the movie opens and you're like, okay, this is just the opening to intro Kong, and then they bring him, and then they reveal it's John C. Reilly, and you're like, oh, this is connected to that. This is like important. You know what I mean? Like your
Yeah.
brain's like, all right, this is a plot point. This isn't like just an intro. Um, and so that's when you become more interested in the actual plot of that. But then again, that's not the story. The story's Kong, and they got that right. So I can't bitch.
So with that being said, did you wait till after the credits?
There's an after credit scene.
Yes.
No, I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know
I
that.
forgot about
I
this.
thought the
I
after
was,
credit scene was John C. Riley.
no, I was about to turn it off. Then I just let it play on through. Then I'm like, oh yeah, there was a post credit scene because I remember it.
Was
It's
it Godzilla?
So let me explain it to you. So at the end, it's they're in Monarch. So it's Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson's character come in, and they sit down on the table, and Tom Hardy, Tom Hiddleston is like, I know you're out there, and I know you know what we know. And then of course it's Corey Hawkins and the other character and that girl. They come into the room, and they're like, of course we were just on Skull Island. He's like, they're not the only ones. He's like, there's been hundreds after the years. And he's like, we found one in 1954, and we tried to blow it up. And of course, in 1954, it's all those attacks on Godzilla when they're trying to blow Godzilla up.
Yeah, it's like it's a subtle reference to
But
that.
it also shows pictures of, it will explain the future of different monsters in Godzilla. And of course, you haven't seen it yet, but it's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Yeah, for Godzilla King of the
And the
Monsters.
monsters, I'm like, at first I'm like, what's this post credit scene leading into? I still thought that, then once I saw it, and I'm like, why haven't we seen these characters? But it's leading up to Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Which I'm excited to watch that one next. I know I hear mixed things, but I really like some of the shots from it, just from what I've seen, like scene wise, from friends bringing it up or just talking about like the movie in general.
But that's mostly it for the post credit scene, which I thought it was a neat post credit scene to put in there
Yeah, that's
to like
cool. I
tease
mean,
the
I forgot
future.
about that, to be honest with
I
you.
think it's also kind of shows like, oh yeah, this is a connected universe. Because technically you don't know this is connected to the Godzilla movie at all. But until you get to that
The
post
only
credit
way
scene,
is there's a little bit in the intro,
it's
but
just
if you're not
John
paying
Goodman
attention, huh?
saying about, it's just John Goodman saying that they're trying to blow something up back in 1954. That's the only like tease of like, oh yeah, it's Godzilla, and that's mostly it.
Well, there's one thing that they revealed with it connecting to Godzilla that I didn't really think made a lot of sense in the movie. And that was that John Goodman was the sole survivor of the battleship that
Yeah, I'm like,
attacked. Because to me, that makes his reasoning for Skull Island makes no sense. Because I'm like, okay, well, you're fighting the wrong dude then. This is a whole different fucking set of creatures and lore. Like,
but they
Godzilla's your
technically,
problem. Why didn't you go figure out where Godzilla was or track him to Japan where the attacks happen?
they still don't know what Godzilla is. So he's probably thinking, what
But
about
he
using
was
Skull
there.
Island?
He says he was the only one that saw that shit and lived.
But
So that's what confuses me. Like, why is he worried about Kong? Like, Kong has nothing to do with that.
unless if he thinks that the other ones will lead him to Godzilla.
Which I mean, that's like I said, like it is what it is. Like it works to connect those stories so the universe works. I just thought it was a very left field thing. Like when it happened, I remember being there like, what? Like you gotta like that I was not expecting that. Like I didn't think it would go to that length to connect the films outside of the intro and the ending where they talk bombs and you're like, "Oh yeah, that was in Godzilla." Which also it's kind of weird because there's a very big year gap between Godzilla and Skull Island. Like 3 years.
Yeah,
about, something like that, which,
it's
like, compared to the other movies that have now been being churned out like fucking butter, it's been really consistent. I'd say like every other year there's a Godzilla
so right now
property in that universe.
it's 2014 to 2017. That's 3 years from that one. 2 years from Kong to Godzilla King of the Monsters.
And it was 2
And
years then, right? To Godzilla versus Kong?
yeah, then it's been 3 years since that.
Okay. But that also makes sense with COVID too, because they were
Yeah,
even though Godzilla versus Kong came out during COVID, it was supposed to be a big deal, and
I
they
think it was.
already were working on it.
I think they were. That was either supposed to come out in 2021 or late 2020. I think they were trying to rush that like into production because whereas the Godzilla versus King Kong movie, I think that was supposed to be a year later after Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Okay, and then it just got pushed back with everything.
Yeah,
That makes sense. Um, but yeah, I just thought that that gap was very massive. But honestly, in a weird way, it works for what they're doing now, because I feel like Kong was the main movie to sell the universe. Obviously Godzilla is like it's exists as its own thing. It's trying to set up a universe, but not really. Kong is the first like experimental. Okay, let's see if this works as a franchise and we
I
can
think
get people attached, and it works, and I gotta give it to him. That's hard to do, and I you get attached to it.
I think also why the Kong is better than Godzilla is Godzilla is a property of like Japan, right? Like the Japan movies are the original. Kong is American. This is American made monster.
That's right. That's red, white, and blue Mug Nation. The
So it's like
Mug Nation.
because I think with the Godzilla movies, they're not trying to tread out as much as like of the Japan lore and what Japan has set up. Well, King Kong is American property, so we can do whatever we want with him.
And I also think it's just interesting, like they thought it's very clear there's a lot more thought out for Kong in this movie than Godzilla. Godzilla was like, all right, it takes place in modern era. We connected to Japan somehow, and he gets to America. That's it. In this movie's like we're in Vietnam. We have soldiers involved. We have journalists involved. We have scientists involved from Monarch. So now we connect the Godzilla things, but it's like the past it's like Monarch way back in the day and why Monarch started in the early origins of Monarch. And it's got this like jungle feel. It's got this adventurous like Jurassic Park feel. Like Godzilla just didn't really have much of anything when it came to it. It just kind of exists in its era. I don't really know how to like I don't even think it represents the 2010s that well. It just simply it's like, oh, we're in the present. You know what I mean? And like Kong is very much like, no, we want to be, if we're in the 70s, we're in the 70s. We're committing to that. And we're going to build everything around that mentality. And you feel it. And even just production is like, production design in Godzilla was phenomenal. I don't want to discredit that. But this movie is crazy. Everything from like, it blends practical and CGI really well, and I think we need more of that nowadays. And we need more movies like Kong that if they go blue screen heavy, they have practicals too, and they have very well designed practicals.
Because I think they shot on location for this.
Yeah, and like there's one of the biggest scenes that come to mind with like impressiveness of how far they go into it is when they go to the indigenous peoples like prophecy like sanctuary where he describes Kong as being their like savior. Like it's very thought out, and it feels like an indigenous like cave style like prophecy.
But I think that's mostly it for my positives and negatives and everything. Is that mostly it for you?
I can't think of anything else about this movie, to be honest with you. I
So
think it
let's
was a
get
good episode. Yeah.
right into the rest of our episode. Guess the Rotten Tomato score.
I feel like it's gonna be low. I don't know why. I feel like it's gonna be like a 57 to 65. for critic because I could see critics being like in the middle about it.
Okay, what do you think the critic is?
I'll say 58.
Audience.
I think audience is high. I think audience is like I want to say like a 77, 78.
Okay, critic is 75.
Oh shit, okay. They actually liked it.
Audience is 69.
Really? That's strange because the movie feels like it's not made for critics. You know what I mean? Like I would
Yeah.
get the impression that it would have a higher like audience score. Huh.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
No, I mean it's still pretty close though. I mean at least it's positive. I can't
Yeah.
that's what matters, but damn. Yeah, that's strange. It's usually the opposite with those.
So let's go on to our next thing. Let's look up and see if we got any Oscar noms.
It might have for visual effects, which we didn't really talk about that. I feel like Kong's looks good in this movie. There's not really any scenes that I feel like it feels like the CGI lacks. Like I feel like they put the money where it needed to be, which I think it had a high production value, but it was around like an average Hollywood production now. It was like I think it was like 200 million. Let me Google that. Budget. 185.
Let's see. I'm trying to see and
Holy shit. I didn't know that. Peter Jackson's Kong is 3.5 hours.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember it being that long.
So that year it was nominated. That was the only thing it was nominated for. Was the I think the visual effects, but it was of course it was going against Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, The Last Jedi, and The War of the Planet of the Apes.
God, did War win?
No, Blade Runner 2049 one.
Blade Runner 24. Yeah, okay. That makes sense, though. That makes sense.
But that was mostly it for the visual. It's won. No, it had some nominations at the Teen Choice Awards though.
Because, I mean, it was a solid movie in all those fronts, but it wasn't some of those nominations. Definitely not Blade Runner. Um, I feel like that movie is gonna hold up really well visually, and like at least the 2049, and like the same regard as Blade Runner.
Yeah, I think that's mostly because that's the only Oscar nom.
Yeah,
Because do you think anybody else could have been nominated in
no,
this movie?
no. I even when they give it their all, it's not that, but also it's Hollywood's weird. It's very weird for there to be like a very popular Hollywood movie that also enters the Academy market. Like the most recent one I can think of is like Barbie and Oppenheimer. And that is a rare case where both were on that level. Um at least in my opinion. I know people think Barbie didn't need to be in the Oscars, but that's kind of fucking dumb. I feel like as much of an impact as it made and how much it brought people in and had people talking about a lot of different things, it deserved to be nominated. That's a side conversation though,
Okay.
obviously. Yeah.
So is that mostly it for you for Kong Skull Island, Sammy?
Oh, I had a blast with it. I think it's time to rate it, Dakota.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot about that.
We got to rate. We got to end it with a rate. Come on now.
Sammy,
Fundamentals.
how many stars would you give this on Letterboxd out of 5?
I give it a 4. I feel like for what it is, it's a good time. It's a lot of fun. It's very creative, but it's also just it's a engaging movie. Like the pacing's all there. You're not bored. There's always something new being shown to you or put in your face. I love it. It was a great time. What would you say, Dakota?
I would also give this a 4 star.
4 star? Because like I don't want to say 4.5 because like Like for me, 4.5 is like -1.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like 4.5, 3/4 is like -1. So for me, I'd say like Kong, like for what it is and what I get out of it, it's a 4. It's a good time.
So is that mostly it for the episode for you, Sam?
I think so. It's been a great episode though, as always. Thank you
So,
for having me.
oh yes, I am very. We are very thankful to have you on to
Hey,
spread your
I'm
knowledge of
thankful.
film.
I'm just thankful to be here, man. It's cool to be a part of this, and I don't really know anyone that does this kind of thing, so it's cool to be a part of it and just see this community.
No problem. So, guys, with that being said, this is going to be the end of the episode. But of course, let's talk about a little bit of the future episodes. But first of all, if you guys haven't yet, spread this podcast around because the best way to spread a podcast around right now, because where a lower podcast is organically. So if you guys got friends that love movies and is not listening to this podcast, go tell them about this. Because we're available on Spotify and Apple for audio, YouTube right now for video version. And guys, also, if you're not subscribed, if you're watching on the video version right now and you've seen me and Sammy's beautiful faces, like this video right now.
Smash
Go
that
like it.
like button. Smash the subscribe button
Yeah, and
today.
also if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button because we're trying to build this community right now, and because we got a lot of special stuff coming in these next couple of months, and reviews and podcasts and stuff, especially with Sammy. We gonna be once he's uh, once he's out for the summer, we're gonna be seeing a lot of movies together, and especially with the boy Brandon.
Yes, good old Brandon, bro. I'm excited to have everybody together again. And also, side note, right now there's no sponsorships. So we want to work our way to getting sponsored by Liquid Death because every podcast that's successful is sponsored by Liquid Death. So whether you know somebody in Liquid Death that works there and you're an ambassador or you just want to get the word out, spread it down below. Hashtag get us Liquid Death
And
today.
also,
Thank
I
you.
just thought this, guys.
Or NordVPN, either one.
So, guys, I haven't thought of this yet until today. If we can build this community, I know you guys love us to review movies. We can get press passes, not only to cons, but we can get press passes to festivals like South by Southwest, um, not
Sundance.
Cannes, Sundance, Fantastic Fest down in Austin,
We could
Texas.
go to TIFF.
TIFF. Yes, speaking of that, Bilal, he can go TIFF, guys. Where Bilal's in Canada, and heck, me and Sammy could go up there also.
And we
New
could
York,
all do a vlog episode.
the New York Film Festival, because guys, Bilal has been to Canada. He can come down to Canada. Me and Sammy can fly up to Canada, drive up
I
to
can walk
Canada.
across the border. I got a card. I
I
got
mean,
a
to New
card that
York.
says I can.
I don't go. I can't do that.
I paid extra. I was stupid and thought I needed it, and I did, and I didn't need it, and I realized that, and it was an extra $100. But now I have a card, so I don't have to have a passport to cross.
Because guys, right now we're literally, I think, 6 months away from Fantastic Fest, and it's one of the biggest horror film festivals. I don't know about Bilal, but me and Sammy love horror.
I love some horror.
So if you guys can build a community, we can get into this thing for free. Me and Sammy can be in person doing podcast episodes just for y'all. So guys,
Which
of course,
you got to get us there. You
yes.
have to have
So
the same belief.
subscribe. Go follow our social medias. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, X, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. Also, hit the follow button on these podcasts if you guys are listening to Spotify or Apple, because if you guys want to stay with us, you gotta hit the follow button, and also give us a good rating,
You
or
could follow.
give us a rating.
Yeah.
Just tell us some feedback because we're building right now. We're still building, even though we're in like episode 9 of this and episode 10 of the podcast episodes. We're still building on this. We're trying to figure this out right now. We're just some guys that love movies, Love to sit down each week and talk to y'all. So let's get into our future episodes. For the podcast, we're gonna be on episode 11. So for the episode, we of course will be reviewing, me and Bilal will be reviewing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which comes out this Friday. And hopefully we can review Immaculate. I don't know if I'm gonna try to see it. I definitely know I'm gonna try to see Late Night with the Devil, so I'm gonna try to give you guys a review on that. But for episode 10 of the Cinemac Boys reviews next week, we're gonna be reviewing Godzilla King of the Monsters.
And we're hitting double digits, baby. So you know where to follow me. You follow me on MySpace, Yahoo, Grinder,
Whoa!
Tumblr, and Reddit forums in the following fonts. We'll put all the Reddit forums I'm in the I'm joking. Please don't think I'm a Redditor.
No, he's
I
not.
promise you, I'm not even close to a Redditor.
But if you guys want to follow Sammy, I'll put his Instagram. Dude, we gotta get you that TikTok though. I'll
I
put his
agree.
Instagram. What he will be making this TikTok this week. Should be changing everything.
This week is the
Posting.
week. 3
This
weeks
week
in,
is the
this is
week.
the week. This is the week. But at
I'll
least I
put
got the Instagram handle up, which I appreciate anybody that follows and looks at some of the stuff on there. So
follow him on Instagram. Follow him on TikTok because we're gonna get him his TikTok set up this week. I'll put that down in the description. Of course, I'll put his Letterboxd down in the description so you guys go follow him there.
and hit me in the Xbox 360 live messaging boards.
And don't forget, check out his short film. Give him some feedback because I think it's good. Bilal already watched it. He thought it was good.
And I'm thank you guys again. And it's called Angel. Really excited to see how people view it and see it. And yeah, thank you guys again for even shouting that out on here.
No problem. So, guys, of course, we're doing Godzilla King of the Monsters next week. Be prepared for that because we are getting so close to Godzilla X Kong the New Empire.
I can feel it.
So, guys, with that being said, when you guys hear me next time, it'll be on episode 11 of the Cinemac Boys podcast with Bilal. And when you hear Sammy next time, it'll be on episode 10 of the Cinemac Boys reviews, doing the review for Godzilla King of the Monsters. And, guys, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.